Welcome back to Let's Play The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Last time we engaged in a brutal one-on-one encounter with the Joker on top of a moving roller coaster. And when the battle was over, the Clown Prince of Crime decided the hell with this and jumped off of the roller coaster to his apparent demise on the ground below. But Batman's work is never done for long. Gotham City is quite a dangerous place to be living in. In fact, they might want to consider getting some better police or something, because the people they've got now just aren't cutting it. No sooner have we dealt with the Joker than we have another active threat to deal with, in the form of evil trees. No, I'm not joking. And any time there's anything in Gotham City involving plant life or flora of any kind, it can only be the work of everyone's favourite eco-terrorist, Poison Ivy! Or to give her a real name, Dr. Pamela Isley, who has been one of the more unique villains in the Batman pantheon. I can't think of anyone else who uses plants as a way of attacking. You're not going to need any of your additional equipment here, although you will notice something's a little bit different. Also bring the spray gun and the smoke bomb because they're extremely useful. You'll notice we couldn't have selected our stars or our plastic explosive. The reason for this are the presence of these female enemies. These are Poison Ivy's henchwomen, and they're extremely annoying. They carry spray guns which are unblockable, and you cannot actively damage them. You can only stun them with a batarang, and if you try and throw them, they'll just kick you in the face and you'll take a little bit of damage. The trees here are dropping small spiked balls, which are kind of hard to see because they kind of blend in with all the other graphics, and they're even harder to avoid when your mind is preoccupied fighting off Ivy's goons. Over here we have a mini-boss of the sort. I want to say it's a root, even though it looks more like either a vine or even a tentacle, but then plants don't have tentacles. All you've got to do to take it down is to hit it with the batarang 3 times in the weak spot, which is this area of pustules in the centre of the tentacle. Nothing particularly difficult, although it can attack if you miss with the batarang too many times, but if you're just standing far enough away from it or you're blocking, it can't do any damage to you. So honestly, it's kind of a pathetic mini-boss, and I'm not quite sure why Konami would have you fight it 3 times in a row. Especially when you consider the fact that there's absolutely no variation between the 3 fights. It's just the same battle 3 times over. And I just don't get the reason for including that. Now on this screen, we finally have a use for the smoke bomb item. When you throw the smoke bomb and it lands on the ground, any enemy involved in its cloud of, well, smoke, will drop to the ground and be stunned for about 5 to 6 seconds. I could have used this on the first level as well to disable Joker's henchmen, but they are moving around so they're a lot harder to hit, and honestly you're just probably going to take damage setting it up. But on this screen, Ivy's goons are stationary and spraying in one place, so much easier to take care of. If you're feeling really dickish, you can just grab them and kick them off of the branch they're standing on to get rid of them. But as all you'll accomplish is taking unnecessary damage, there's really no point to doing this. Now Poison Ivy's worst fear is being realised, and these trees are being literally uprooted from the ground as we try to jump across them. The first 2 aren't that difficult to pass, but this third one is extremely tricky. Make sure you have the grappling hook equipped as soon as you get to this section, and you need to fire it at that green vine as soon as you see it, or you will fall and lose a life. Speaking of vines, these vines on the ground here will collapse if you stand on them for too long, so just use short hops or run across them quickly to get over them before they fall. This part of the level is actually taken directly from an episode of the TV series. In Eternal Youth, Poison Ivy masquerades as Dr. Daphne Demeter, the owner and proprietor of a health spa, and she's assisted by 2 spray can wielding henchwomen, Violet and Lily. And the enemies in this level look very similar to Lily. By the way, Ivy's alias should be a dead giveaway to anyone who knows anything about Greek mythology, because Demeter is the goddess of fertility, while Daphne was a nymph pursued by the god of the sun Apollo, who was transformed into a laurel tree by her father to stop the god from pursuing her. Also, I have no idea why Konami opted to use the Super Ghouls and Ghost style transform into rain a few seconds ago, because no enemies show up while you're trying to pass it, so it can't really do anything to you. Inside this greenhouse are more henchwomen, but we can easily disable them using the spray gun. In fact, if you use the spray gun, sometimes they'll even drop battery icons which can replace the piece of equipment you're currently using, which is useful. There are trapdoors on the floor here that will open up to try and drop you into a load of spiky plants. You can either run through it quickly or take your time. I took my time and it cost me right there. The henchmen are usually smart enough to not wander onto the trapdoors, but you can exploit this. If you stun one of them, then pick them up and throw them into the exposed opening, you'll kill them. Take that, Chrysanthemum, whatever your name was. It's also possible to set it up so that if you throw a henchwoman onto a non-open trapdoor, then quickly stun them, jump over them and trigger the trap, they'll also fall in and die. Kind of pointless because you'll lose a lot of health setting it up, but after the grief that Ivy's goons caused me in previous takes of this recording, I'm not gonna lie, it was damn satisfying to do. Now another interesting thing about Poison Ivy is that in both the animated series and the comic books, while she can fight hand to hand, she often prefers to let others do her dirty work for her. As is the case here. Rather than battle us directly, she summons this giant Venus flytrap plant monster thing, and Batman has to do battle with that instead of Ivy. It has two phases, and the first phase is extremely simple. It will whip the air with its giant vine 3 times. All you've got to do is just duck down, pop up when it's finished, and it will open its mouth, and you can throw a batarang into it to damage it. You can only damage this boss when its maw is wide open. If you just duck down where Batman originally enters the fight at the start of the cutscene between him and Poison Ivy, this thing can't hurt you even when it starts to move around. After 3 hits, the boss will change patterns on you, becoming a bit trickier, but still not too tough if you know what you're doing. It will fire a couple of shots out of the top of its vine, then slam the ground. The trick to this boss is to just be patient. I like to stand roughly half distance between the left wall and the plant monster. That way, when it fires the shots at me, I can move out of the way and avoid its vine. You want to be constantly moving in this fight to avoid all the attacks he throws at you. If you have to get hit by anything, get hit by the shots rather than the monster himself or the vine, because it does less damage. When it drops its vine to the back here, Poison Ivy will appear and fire her crossbow at you. You can't do anything to either Ivy or the monster while she's doing this, so just duck to avoid it. Also, sometimes the monster can actually block your attempts to attack him with its vine, making this fight take even longer. But as I say, it's more important that you avoid taking damage than damage the boss. It might take a while, but it will eventually go down. For some reason, this fight reminds me a bit of Kraid from Super Metroid. Partly because the music sounds Metroid-esque in my opinion, but also because it roars whenever you hit it. This thing actually showed up in an episode of the animated series as well. In Pretty Poison, Batman does battle with this thing at the climax of the episode inside a greenhouse, much like we're doing here. That episode was Poison Ivy's debut to the series, and it's notable because in it, she poisons and nearly murders Harvey Dent, who would later on to be known as Two-Face, another one of Batman's gallery of rogues. Honestly, Ivy's a very unique and interesting villain, not just in Batman but in comic books in general, so it's kind of a shame that her other mainstream portrayal is in Batman and Robin. Nothing against Uma Thurman, but when your main moment of that film is falling into a giant Venus flytrap and screaming "Curses!", you know you're doing something wrong. After goodness knows how many hits, this monstrosity finally goes down, and that's the end of the level. Good grief, that took a long time. Anyway, that'll do it for Stage 2 of Let's Play the Adventures of Batman and Robin. Join me next time to see which threat rears its ugly head and threatens Gotham City next time. Until then, bye for now.